And we appreciate you braving the weather and the elements to be here with us tonight. It's nice to come together and to talk about the thing that really, frankly, always brings us together, which is your children and our students. You obviously love them as your children, but know that we love them too. And you may not always think about it from the outside, and they may not always feel it immediately, but we are constantly engaged in some way with them and their well-being. In the classroom, counseling sessions, faculty meetings, retreats, national conferences, professional reading and study, we spend most of our time thinking and talking about and reflecting on the lives of your children. We have a committee for the outreach and support for individual students, also known as the OASIS Committee, Outreach and Support for Individual Students. It meets every week to discuss current issues, realities, and trends among our students, and to address in very real problem-solving ways the realities and the trends and the individual burdens that our students carry. This OASIS Committee is comprised of myself and our grade level counselors who are seated up here. We have Ms. Julie Meadows, if Julie could stand. Leslie Lipton is our sophomore counselor and junior counselor. Kay Vance is our senior counselor, as well as our academic support counselor, Ginny McMillan, and our Dean of Students, Amy Owens. This night is the result of countless hours of work on the part of this committee. Please give them a round of applause for all of what they do. So it was in response to ongoing discussions and cases in this OASIS committee that our anti-bullying initiative was born. And we thank you for taking an interest and an active role in the surveys. We have a lot of information to share with you tonight. I will present some results of the bullying surveys, and then Jennifer Hogan will present on teens' social lives on social media. We do not have time during the presentation for questions and answers, but we will be available immediately following the presentation for anyone who may wish to speak with us. And if you have any questions in the coming days, weeks, or months, please know that you are always welcome to call, to email, to come by school, to talk to us. In addition, we will be sending to all parents a follow-up communication with helpful materials and information provided here tonight. So the word bully may conjure different ideas, images, or people in our minds. From the big kid on the playground shaking you down for lunch money, to the mean girls in the hallway rolling their eyes and spreading rumors about you. When we talk about bullying tonight, we are talking about traditional behaviors of intimidation, threats, exclusion, and meanness in traditional spaces like classrooms, bathrooms, and hallways, but also on new platforms like Snapchat, Twitter, Yik Yak, Brighton, and every other virtual way to connect that exists or is being developed as we speak. This can be overwhelming for sure, and Jennifer Hogan will help to shed some light on the realities of this digital landscape. But for purposes of our understanding tonight, when we talk about bullying, we are talking simply about how students treat one another, both in person and online. Some of these behaviors are easily recognizable, while some of them are very hidden and hard to detect. They are all preventable and manageable if we work together to teach, to support, and to model for our students the people that God is calling them to be. I want to begin by sharing some of the results from the student surveys that went out about a month ago. Of our nearly 600 students, 150 responded, just over 25%. Of those 150 responses, the split between 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades was extremely close, and the number of Catholic versus non-Catholic students is reflective of our school demographic. In other words, as far as surveys go, this is a great sample. The first student question we will share is in regards to being bullied, harassed, or intimidated, how safe do you feel in the following places? From left to right, in your classes, by your locker, walking in the hallways, and in the lunchroom. I'm not sure if everyone can see all of the detail here, but each set of bars from left to right indicate very unsafe in blue, kind of unsafe in red, so-so in green, kind of safe in purple, and very safe in orange. What the survey says is that by and large, students feel safe at John Carroll, free from harassment, or intimidation or bullying. And I want us to acknowledge and remember this pattern that you're looking at right now, because as we go along, we will see it repeated. Again, in these places, we see a very similar trend. In the locker room, at school-sponsored events, in the bathroom, and in the parking lot. The exceeding majority of our students feels very safe to safe at our school. Students were asked, how often have you noticed bullying, harassment, or intimidation going on in each of these places? Here's the interesting thing about surveying adolescents. The research shows that teenagers will be much more likely to tell the truth if the questions are about someone else rather than about themselves. So we were very deliberate in our wording of these and other questions because we wanted students to feel comfortable answering honestly. This question for these locations, the locker room, school-sponsored events, the bathrooms, and the parking lots, showed very similar results to the previous slides regarding feeling safe. From left to right in each group, the blue bar is every day. The red is 1 to 2 times per week. Sorry. Yes. The purple is 1 to 2 times per year, and the orange is never. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm on the right slide. So for this slide, we start to see a slight shift. Take a look at that for a minute. How often have you noticed bullying, harassment, or intimidation going on in each of these places? In the classroom, at the lockers, in the hallways, in the lunchroom. While the orange line indicating never is still the highest, and the purple line indicating once or twice a year is the second highest, students share that they notice bullying behaviors happening more frequently in these places than any others. We are working very directly and specifically as a faculty to address this with both immediate, easy to implement classroom practices, and also with deeper ongoing training and development. You will hear about some of these in our follow-up messages following this presentation in the coming days and weeks. Students were asked, how often in the past year have the things listed below happened to you as a John Carroll student? Sorry, the slides were a little bit off. Here we go. How often in the past year have the things listed below happened to you as a John Carroll student? Students report that they almost never have been threatened, almost never been shoved, hit, tripped, or kicked, and almost never have been pressured into engaging in sexual activity. This is good. Our students feel and are physically safe, generally speaking. The most varied response we received was to this slide. How often in the past year have the things listed below happened to you as a John Carroll student? When we asked students about their being teased in a mean way, or being left out of things on purpose, being called hurtful names, or being talked about behind their backs, they revealed that these happen somewhat more frequently. Still, the never and 1 to 2 times per year are the highest responses. The results of this survey are encouraging, and in some ways not that surprising. Our students, who are teenagers, sometimes but not always, call each other names, leave people out of things, and talk about each other behind their backs. So just as a little exercise, please raise your hand if, in your childhood or adolescence, you ever saw someone call someone a mean name, leave others out of things, or talk about someone behind their back. Please raise your hands for real if you've ever seen this. Okay, now raise your hand if you've ever seen an adult do these things. Right? I won't ask if you're that adult. Okay? Some of these problems are very human problems. And as we teach our students to be the best human beings that they can be, we're encouraged by what we see here through these surveys. And we're encouraged by what we see every day in the halls at John Carroll and in the classrooms at John Carroll. But we're also very concerned about the personal experiences of many of our students. The safety of our students is our primary priority. This includes their physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual safety. As we analyze the results of our student surveys, we ask ourselves the question, where are the greatest areas of concern regarding student safety? Where are students talking about each other behind their backs, calling each other names, and generally not being the glorious children of God that they are called to be? The surveys showed, and you probably know it before I say it, that on social media, they are guilty or they are witnessing such behaviors much more than in the halls or in the classrooms or in their physical lives. But perhaps the most interesting analysis of our surveys came in the disparate responses between students and parents regarding social media and bullying. Parents were asked, how many hours a day does your child spend on social media or other apps? The most common response at 47% was 1 to 3 hours a day in red, followed by 29% who said less than an hour in blue, and then 16% who said more than 3 hours in orange. The remaining 8% was split between parents who said their child does not use social media or that they don't know or check their child's social media usage. Current research suggests that teenagers use an average, are you ready, of 9 hours of entertainment media per day. This includes social media, videos, clips, online apps, and any screens that show nice lights and images and moving pictures. When parents and students were asked similar questions about social media, and remember, students are more likely to be honest when talking about others than themselves, here's what we found. How often has your child been picked on or insulted on social media, and how often have you seen such behavior happen? The differences here are compelling, where 30% of students, shown in red, report that they see such behavior every day. Only 3% of parents, shown in blue, believe that this may exist for their child every day. Where 17% of students report that they see it 1 to 2 times per week, only 6% of parents believe it to be as frequent. And the pattern flips itself by the end, where 18% of students never see such behavior. 50% of parents believe that their child has never experienced such behavior. We see a similar pattern with the next 2 questions. How often do you think your child has had an anonymous Snapchat, tweet, text, or post insulting them? Or how often have you seen a John Carroll student send an anonymous Snapchat, tweet, text, post insulting someone? Almost 23% of the students say that every day something like this happens, where only 1.3% of parents think that their child may be affected by this every day. And for the question, how do the majority of students react when they see other students being picked on, we have very similar results, and this was the same question across both surveys. Only 1% of students say that the student tells an adult, where 18% of parents think that they tell an adult. 23% of students say that they like the comment video picture, while only 1% of parents believe this to be the case. 23% of students say that they share the comment video picture, that they actually think it's funny enough to repeat to others and to perpetuate online, while 1% of parents believe that this is what happens. 36% of students say that students do nothing when they see such behaviors, and 21% of parents agree. And only 3% of students claim that they don't know how people respond. In other words, most students have a sense of how their teenage peers respond in this current culture to such behaviors, while 43% of parents have no idea how students respond to such behaviors. So what do we, as the adults in our student lives, do? What do we need to know so that we can teach and guide and care for your children?